Celine decided to spend the night outside the city lights in an old village. Found through a friend's recommendation on social media, the place promised a vacation away from light pollution and in the lap of nature. The village was quite far from the city, and Celine had learned that there was only one guest house serving the village. The guest house, with "Under the Stars" written on it, appeared peaceful at first glance. On the first night, Celine found a bit of tranquility in the village's silence. However, on the second night, a deep darkness and intense stillness settled alongside the stars in the sky. Before going to bed, Celine wanted to look out the window. The moon was hidden behind clouds, leaving almost no light outside. The forest surrounding the house seemed like a distant entity. When Celine lay down in bed, she heard a faint tapping sound at the door. At first, she thought the sound was made by the wind, but a few minutes later, the sound repeated. She slowly got out of bed, approached the door, and opened it. She saw no one, only the dark corridor. Thinking maybe it was a mistake, she closed the door and returned to her bed. However, the door began to tap again. This time, the sound was much more pronounced and gave the feeling that someone was watching her from the other side. Gathering her courage, Celine opened the door once more. In the dark corridor, there were only deep shadows. She took one more step and heard a sound. A whispering voice seemed to be calling her name. Terrified, Celine took a step back and closed the door. When she lay back down, the door this time knocked like a scream. Celine saw a shadow moving in front of the door. The shadow seemed to slowly advance towards the back of the door. Not knowing what to do, Celine mustered her courage and opened the door. There was nothing beyond the door, but that night, suddenly, all the lights in the house began to flicker on and off. Suddenly, a silhouette appeared in the corner of the room's mirror. The silhouette was staring at Celine, but it was so silent and motionless that it seemed as if no one was there. Its eyes glowed in the darkness. Celine recoiled in fear as the lights began to go out. As she passed by the mirror, its reflection showed that someone was behind Celine, but there was no one behind her. Throughout the night, various sounds and shadows moved around the room. By dawn, Celine awoke in exhaustion. She noticed that nothing in the room was in its place. The headboard of the bed was toppled, and the items were scattered. Quickly packing her belongings, she left the village. After that day, Celine tried to erase all traces of the village and the guest house. However, wherever she went, she continued to encounter sounds from doors and silhouettes in mirrors. Each night, the fear she experienced in that old guest house turned into nightmares, and every dawn, images of that night replayed in her mind. And when Celine decided to research the village's history before experiencing that terrifying night, she discovered that the village's name was linked to a centuries-old forgotten curse. According to the legend, buried deep beneath the village was an ancient cemetery, and the spirits there awakened at night, searching for new bodies. Celine realized that the terrifying dreams and silent whispers she heard each night were part of this old and forgotten curse. The awakening of the spirits with the night was only the beginning. Celine's soul was being summoned to join the endless cycle of the curse.